You have to wonder about the sort of mentality of certain people, including, of course, the former royal known as Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex. You know, when you think about it, he has a lot of problems engulfing him right now, including the ongoing battle with Associated News Limited, of which he's still apparently trying to get pushed forward exactly what he wants regarding those hacking claims. It's not exactly going to plan for Harry. He made that big splash, didn't he, when he came over a couple of months back now, last month, and suddenly it was here I am, and there was Elizabeth Hurley, there he was with Elizabeth Hurley's son, and everybody thought Harry's fighting the fight. Obviously he's fighting the fight back home in Montecito, right? But what was interesting, I don't know if you noticed this, but what was interesting was yesterday, in the midst of everything, Harry thought this was a good idea to put out this particular video. That's right, all about the Well Child Awards. Now, when you think about it, the crassness of it is just incredible. It didn't have to be put out at that particular point, at that particular day, right? Didn't need to be. But behind the scenes, even sources at Well Child tell me this. As ever, let me explain. Morning, chums. Nice to see you. Thank you so much for your time. Are you all right? I'm not so bad, thank you. By the way, you're still talking about record players. Yes, I'm glad you are. It is lovely to look back at things like that. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day because he was telling me about one of the first record players that I had. And I was saying, I said they were great, and he said, but honestly, Neil, could you really now be bothered getting up to change the record, put the arm on, and then when it finishes at the end, get up and take it off? And I thought, now there's a point. It's a funny thing, isn't it? You know what you think, because remember, if you're a certain age, and we're all a certain vintage, I'm sure, do you remember just having to get up and change the channels on the television? Yes, do you remember? And you see, now we just all reach for the remote, don't we? It's like a second nature. I remember when I was a kid, our telly had those buttons, 1 to 4, maybe 1 to 3, something like that. And you flicked it down and that's what changed the channel over. Nobody thought anything of it, did they? And also, I got the feeling didn't it make you watch television less? Because you weren't then just scouring through looking for stuff. You just thought, I'll get on with something more interesting. And so I think you did. I think the generation that had the wireless, the radio as their entertainment, were far more productive. My grandmother, wonderful lady, she basically was doing everything simply because she could have the radio, she could be baking, making a dress, doing housework, whatever. They kept themselves busy and organised, didn't they? Absolutely. Somebody might, of course, be busy and organised is Prince Harry. As I said, put this video out for the Well Child Awards. Here's the thing, right, where it's interesting, because according to a source, I mean, first and foremost, it's what I call the porch videos, right? Why would you film them at the porch? We know you've got a nice desk. We know that you have a nice setup because the other week we saw all the badges and everything behind you. You know where Meghan was flogging the chocolate bars and all that, right? So we do know there's a better view, a better look, right? But seemingly Harry thinks the porch is the ideal thing. But as a source pointed out to me, wouldn't that have been better when he was over here in London? Remember, he was over here for a considerable amount of time, to pop along to the Well Child headquarters and perhaps use their banner in, their background, make the video there, make it look a little bit more professional. I'm not knocking him because obviously, what he's trying to do is drum up support for what he says is one of his favourite charities. The question I would ask though is that it's a favourite charity that, according to my knowledge, you come over once a year for September, you pick up a lot of PR, lots of good pictures of you playing with kids and all of that sort of stuff, and then seemingly disappear for another year. How to the very heart of this charity is Harry? There's the question. And remember, they famously got found out by basically only doing 1 hour a week for charity. However, behind the scenes, this is where it gets even more strange, shall we say, because now Meghan Markle is seeing this as a golden moment, or indeed her team are. Remember the new team that she has to try and promote her. This is because Meghan believes that, well, what's going on over here with the British monarchy, she now has the perfect story to point out that, well, it was a terrible thing. That's the reason why she wanted to change her name from Mountbatten Windsor, originally, if you remember, to Spencer, where she sent over her husband to have a chat to his mother's brother, right? I mean, that's really disrespectful to his father, His Majesty the King. Apparently the King had no idea. Charles Spencer, I have it on good authority, basically didn't think this was a good idea at all, and certainly didn't want to get up into the machinations of fallouts and that sort of stuff, right? Now, moving forward, where this gets even more interesting is, as you can imagine, you see, Meghan now believes that basically she's home and dry. Consequently, she now calls herself Meghan Sussex or whatever. And the branding and the title of using HRH will seemingly mean nothing. In fact, according to that source in that inner circle, they're telling me that Harry and Meghan now might believe, or indeed their team, should I say, again, allegedly, that this could become a tarnished chalice. Meghan, right, likes to be known as Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. We know this because she made Harper's Bazaar announce her as that, and I would still suggest that this title will carry clout for many years to come. William, as we know, wants to devolve it so that, bottom line is, it really means nothing. And I would say that will happen in the fullness of time. But moving forward, as I say, what's fascinating is that Meghan particularly believes that now people might understand the reason why she had to go away. And you just wait, rat chums, the next podcast, the next sit-down interview, these will be very heavily hinted at, what she had to go through, the struggle, etc. Remember, Tom Bradby, the guy from ITV News, right? He famously lost out on a long-term friendship with William, the Prince of Wales, because he decided to go down the route of Harry and Meghan, famously interviewing them on the African tour. The one where she famously said, of course, not many people have asked that if he's all right. And as I told you many years ago now, that was a set-up story, a set-up picture. Everybody knew that Markle was very much all right. You get the picture. Moving forward, as I said, the new story that you will see coming out in the next couple of days will be the fact that they had no choice but to move away, simply because, of course, they knew the tarnish of what was coming. And indeed, that's the reason why Meghan claims she had no idea who Prince Andrew was. Remember? No idea. Who's that with the Queen, right? Best friends with Eugenie, right? No idea. Anybody truly believe it other than Prince Harry? That's where we're currently at right now. But do you agree with me on, of course, the well child? Why didn't he make the video over here? Is it an afterthought? How much on his mind truly are these charitable endeavours? As ever, I'd love to know what you think. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.